Ashley Bernardi of Nardi Media. Thank you so much for joining us again for another episode of CrisisComms. I am so excited about my guest today. It's my friend, Dalyn Miller. He is also a fellow rock star publicist specializing in podcasts. So we're going to get into that today. Dalyn is the founder of Dalyn Miller PR. So Dalyn, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you for having me. This is very exciting. I'm used to being on the other side of the camera and the microphone, so it's different. It's fun.
Yeah, I like
enjoy
to
it.
put my friends in the hot seat. So let's get
It
into
is.
it. You're working from home now, right? You're in Chicago.
Working from home.
So tell me, how are you holding up with all of this massive change that we're experiencing right now?
You know, I think it's a good question. There are things that surprise me, and then there are things that don't surprise me. I'm surprised by how quickly I'm tired of hearing the phrase, "We all know that these are uncertain times." I mean, seriously, I cannot hear that phrase for a long time. Yes, we all know. We all know.
Start a pitch with that right now, right? For other publicists that's listening.
Yes. Thank you, Subaru and Toyota. Thank you for reminding us every day.
Yeah.
But you know, I've always been a cook. I've always cooked for myself, and so that wasn't as big a transition for me. I'm really delighted to see sort of surprising things coming out of people you never would have expected it to come out of. I'm really glad to see the communities coming together to support people like the restaurants, the delivery workers, the barbers, the hairstylists, people whose business just suddenly ended and with no plan in sight, because nobody saw this coming. And all of the crazy paranoia about what was going to happen in the future, nobody thought this was coming. You know, there were the Contagion movies and so forth, but you know, everybody dies really quick. Nobody thought this was going to be, well, a lot of people were going to die, but the rest of us just have to go about our lives. So it's just it's a strange time, but it's okay. You know, and it's all about adaptability, And you know, one of the things that we constantly tell our clients is to remain just absolutely true and real in everything you do. And I think that authenticity right now means more than it has ever meant in the past. So we're really trying to help our clients, and our clients are very authentic in what they do, but we're really trying to help them sort of, you know, expand on that authenticity and really share what they've got and the truth of who they are. So it's amazing.
I love that you're saying this right now.
Yeah.
I feel like in a time, like I'm feeling this because right now we don't have room to not be authentic. Like I'm wearing a necklace right now that says "Be You" as a reminder for me every day that I need to make sure that I am creating this space in my life to be authentic and real in all ways possible, because we just don't have the time or space for anything else. So okay, let's talk about your business, because this is really exciting. So for everyone who knows, Dalyn and I are friends. He's a publicist and we have had the privilege to work together. His team is amazing. They're especially amazing at podcast booking. So I first want to start with how, like, you know, 6 weeks ago you were in an office, now you're working from home. How has your business adapted, changed, and evolved in these past several weeks?
Well, like everybody else, we now live on Zoom. We adore Zoom. Zoom has changed our lives. You know, being in podcasts, we were very familiar with Zoom before. We have used Zoom with our clients. Our clients have used them. Most podcasters use them to record their interviews. So it wasn't that big an uphill learning curve for us. But we're really learning how well we can work together on Zoom and working from home. I brought a new podcast booker in. I actually hired somebody in this, which I know it sounds crazy, but I'm spending a lot of time with my clients trying to help them sort of shift towards what their new future is going to be. And I needed somebody else to come in and start booking. And it's funny, she's been working with us for 4 weeks now, yet we've never met her in person. And she lives down the street. So we have a brand new team member who neither Jimmy or I have met in person, but we see her every day on Zoom. So that's been an interesting shift. When it comes to media, you know, God, it's such a strange world. We started 16 years ago when we've been traditional media. You know, we were there when blogs started, and we got in on the blog world, and we just kept going and going and going. And then podcasts happened, 2005, 2006, and that was right when we had started, didn't pay much attention to them. And then they didn't go away, but nobody was paying attention to them for 10 years.
Yeah.
Then they came back, and we just happened to be, at the time we were working with Simon & Schuster on an imprint, and their marketing director, Cindy Rotzlaff, who is my mentor from at the beginning of my career in publishing, said, you should really do more with podcasts. Like, that's a thing that's coming. And I said, okay. So we launched a separate division, and it really took off. So the podcast team at Dalyn Miller PR. It is more than half of our work most days. In the past 4 weeks, we've seen our traditional bookings slow down, drop off in some areas like television. So many of the lifestyle shows, they're just shuttered for now.
Yeah.
And our podcast bookings, we have never had busier weeks. I got an email from Jimmy yesterday, or a text message that said, I have booked 9 interviews just today, which it's insane. It's insane. So it's great. It's really, there is media to be had out there. Right now, what we are concerned with, as I'm sure you are, and other communications PR people, is how do we generate the new business, and how do we share what's working and what's not working? And I just want to say, podcasts, they're out there, and not a lot of them they're not focused on coronavirus or COVID-19 anymore. They're moving on. You also have to remember that podcasts are in all senses a long lead media. They have to book you, they have to edit the episode, and they have to schedule it in. We're booking interviews now for November, December, January. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. So there really is opportunity out there. And I really, for us, find the opportunity where it exists. And for people who are looking, how do I get the word out there about my telemedicine, telehealth, one of my services, any virtual service, any virtual product, how do I do it? The answer is podcasts.
Yep.
Absolutely podcasts. And there are some great ones out there, and there are a ton of them. And they are 100% opt-in listeners. They are all long form, so you can really tell the story, you can tell the backstory, which is incredibly valuable. They live online forever. They're promoted by your PR agency, the host, you, so your SEO drives back up, your searchability drives back up, your just awareness for your entire platform and brand. It's amazing. And finally, the greatest thing, podcast listeners are exactly like television watchers. So if they discover a show at episode 138, you know what they do?
Binge.
They go back and they binge.
Yes.
So your
true.
brand is continually getting attention for years into the future.
Yep.
So it's like no other media we've ever worked with. No other media we've ever worked with. And I'm so excited that for all the doom and gloom that this has brought, I'm so excited for podcasters and seeing them really have this moment to rise up and show the world that this is who they are, and this is what they're there. They're waiting for them to come. Just do it. So
I love that. So it's like for all the experts who are sitting there at home thinking, how do I get my message out to the world right now when I'm stuck at home and all my speaking engagements have been canceled? You're saying the answer is podcasts. Do it. Podcasts.
Yeah. Because if you think about it, this is what people are doing at home. So people with children like you, for example, you can't sit on social media all day long and flip through and read things, but you can cook and listen to a podcast. You can do almost anything and listen to a podcast. Yep. So, and I think that's one of the reasons podcasts came back so quickly and so aggressively as they did 4 years ago. NPR and American Public Media put all of this money and promotion behind the Serial podcast. And then right beyond that came S-Town. And then that was about the time everybody was realizing that, no, you really can't drive and be on Facebook. You can't cook dinner and be on Facebook. You can't, or Instagram. I think it was timing and great promotion. And I think it's been a wonderful change for the industry. Fantastic change for the industry.
And especially for book authors, and I know you work with a lot of book authors, and I come to believe that podcast listeners are a book buying audience. Anytime I listen to a podcast that has an author on, probably 90% of the time I end up buying their book because I get to listen to them for 60 minutes. It's essentially a 60-minute commercial about their message. And then I'm like, I want more. So do you tend to agree with that too?
I do. And so that's funny you should bring that up. Book Expo every year, as you know, is the United States' largest book fair every year. It takes place in New York at the Javits Center at the end of May. Not this year. This year it's being canceled until next year. But in 2017, right as the podcast team was really taking off and getting going, they had the president CEO of Edison Research giving a talk about audiobooks. And he was talking about the value of podcasts then and saying, and he said that the greatest line, which I will never forget, podcasts are the gateway drug to audiobooks.
Oh.
And so, but that could go beyond because it's not just audiobooks, but it makes sense. People hear about things, they start becoming interested in the topic, they start reading, they start hearing true crime, then they start reading true crime or buying audiobooks on true crime or health and wellness. You're listening to a health and wellness podcast and you hear different ideas, different things you hadn't really considered, like functional medicine, alternative health, sleep therapy, biohacking. And suddenly they want more. So they buy those books, they get them, they read them, they're ravenous about them. So podcasts are fantastic for publishing promotion.
I love that. Okay, so Dalyn, where can our audience find more information about you and your services? So podcast, anyone who wants to be on a podcast, find Dalyn, tell us everything.
All right, easy enough. Thepodcastteam.com.
Awesome.
Super easy.
It's so easy. The podcast.
So easy.
All right, Dalyn. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you. And stay safe and hi to everybody out there. I look forward to hearing from you and I look forward to getting together with you soon again for a Zoom cocktail.
Can't wait. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for watching CrisisComms. Until next time.